Hello and welcome back to my channel. I'm Sam Zagar. Today we're going to be doing a video on majority authorities. I'm going to be covering the solar plexus center, the sacral center, and the splenic center. Now, these three types of authorities are center-based, and they are the majority authorities, as in most people on the planet fall into these three categories. My goal today is to give you a little bit of information from each one of these centers and therefore their authority about what it would feel like if you should maybe not proceed with something. I'm not talking about a very clear, obvious no per se. I'm talking about that harder to suss out, like, should I? Shouldn't I? Should I wait? Should I not? Is this not a good sign? I should hold off, maybe. If you're hesitating, if you're thinking, I don't think this is a yes yet, I think I should hold off, this might be what it feels like. Let's start with the solar plexus. The solar plexus, you should look at its not self theme, which is avoiding truth and confrontation. If you feel like that's where you're at right now, then you're not ready to move forward with something. Having a yes from the solar plexus isn't like a clear yes. It's not like a sacral response. It's more of a lack of a no and really a lack of nervousness. You can look at the biological correlation of the center to get even more clues. We have biological correlations to the lungs and the nervous system when we're looking at the solar plexus. If something is off about my decision with my emotional authority, there's a really good chance my breathing might be off. My nervous system might be off. If every time I think about this decision, I get a bit shaky, not a great sign for moving ahead. If every time I think about talking about this decision, I get weird about it, I'm not ready to be fully honest, or I'm trying to hold back something, I'm probably not ready yet. If I feel like there's just too much pressure, too much pressure, too much pressure, and I'm not able to get all the information that I need, it's probably not time yet. There should be a calmness when we proceed with this. If you're not in a place of calm, maybe hold off. Now, it is worth noting that there are people who are very nervous, very anxious. And if you are a high anxiety kind of person, you might not be able to fully read your signals from your solar plexus. You may need to do some type of like nervous system development or capacity work to have a better relationship to your solar plexus. But in general, if you're an emotional authority and you are hesitant, shaky, having a hard time breathing, really feel like you need more time, feel like there's too much pressure on you, if you have the like, I'm being pushed and I'm not ready yet, like you really want to resist that, it's probably not time for you to reach a decision. And other people are going to have to be okay with that. If it's not right for you, it's not right, period. It doesn't matter if other people are putting pressure on you. Now, what if we have sacral authority? What are physical signs or signals that I might have to deal with that tell me, don't proceed? If you have sacral authority, you have one of the slightly easier to navigate ones in that a yes is much more clear, it's open, expansive, and you want to go forward with things. A no is a contraction, a withdrawal, trying to escape away from having to put your energy into things. If you feel excited, if you feel what they call lit up, but basically like if you feel a little bit alive, if you feel fertilized, that's it's a fun one to say, but the sacral center biologically would govern the testes and ovaries. This is a fertility or sexually based center. If we have an uptick in what would feel like fertilization, as in an uptick in, ooh, I feel nourished, I feel revitalized, I feel like I could really grow right now, I feel like I could really flourish here, that's a great sign. But if you have the opposite and you're like, I feel like I'm wilting, I feel like, oh, I feel like, hmm. Or if you start to feel the not self general theme, which is frustration, if you start to feel like, ugh, ugh, I can't make sacral sounds. I really can't. But if you feel like a dying machine when you try and talk about what's going on, that's a no. If you yawn when you talk about it, not a great sign. If you read the book that you're super interested in, but all you do is fall asleep, not a good sign. Okay? If you can't light a fire under your butt to get yourself going somewhere, there's no fire. There's no energy. There's no response. So then the question becomes, why do you think you should do something? Because if you feel like you don't want to, but you still think that you should, you've got some mental conditioning that you got to work through. Now, let's say that you're splenic. The splenic center is extremely health-based. And the not self question for this is, are you afraid to let go? Are you holding on to something that's not good for you? You really need to look at your vitality in relationship to a decision. If you are splenic and moving towards something brings out a quality of life in you. Now, it's not life like the fertile sacral life. It's life like the drive to be alive, this push to survive. It's not like thriving, it's more like surviving. Like core vitality is the question here. If you think about moving towards something and you get sick, if you get bloated, if you get puffy, if we see signs of stagnation happening in you, this is not a good sign. If you find that you are becoming a little bit frozen, a little bit stuck, borderline petrified, this is not for you. Now, all awareness centers have fear gates, which means that the splenic center and the solar plexus center, they're working through fears in order to be able to move ahead on things. And these fears are kind of essential to the well-being. Like, you have to have some healthy fears and some healthy respect for certain things. Otherwise, you take on unnecessary risks. The sacral center is not an awareness center, and it's hard not to make that sound offensive, but the sacral is not aware. It's a motor. It's a pure motor. It's energy or not, which means that the sacral yes or the sacral no doesn't have a lot of awareness to it, which means you don't have to consider that much about anybody else. It's really like, do I have it or not? Do I have the response or not? Do I have the response or not? Keep it simple. If you don't have a response as a sacral being, no response is a pretty obvious response, you know what I'm saying? With splenic people, there's so much awareness that goes into the decision. And in particular, are you aware of how this decision can negatively impact your health? And are you willing to risk that? The question with the solar plexus is more about, are you willing to face the fear of confronting that? One tends to be more of a survival, internal, self kind of based fear, whereas the other one is more like surviving out in the world with others as a social being. There's a greater social awareness for the solar plexus. No matter what your authority is, it's important to pay attention to signs of retreat. If you don't move towards something, really, no matter what your authority is, like, think about general animal behavior, think about general human behavior, think about the behavior of living creatures that can sense things in their world and their environment. If I stand here and a horse just walks up to me, I'm going to take that as a sign that this horse is either comfortable with me or has a yes for me or is drawn to me. Like, these are positive encouragements. If I walk up to a horse and the horse steps back from me, that's a different sign. I'm probably going to look at that like, it doesn't like this. It's trying to get away from me. It's having a no to me. We can look at this very loosely in like the consent conversation. Do we have clear, obvious yeses that we want to engage with things? Or do we have these shutdowns and these no's and these turn-offs? A lot of the times when we feel like that, we don't actually acknowledge what is going on and we don't give it enough credit and we try and rationalize out of it. Human design is not a system for rationalizing out of your stuff. It's a system for feeling your stuff. If you need help feeling yours, you can come to a class. I've got a class on the majority authorities happening in November, but it's almost November, so there's a good chance you're watching this And that class has happened a long time ago. And if that's the case, you can go to my website and you can buy the recording. Or you can just keep watching my YouTube videos here and see what you get out of them. Thanks for being here. On to the next one.